going on here? Just waiting for Facebook to click in.
You're looking like at the sky.
I am, yeah, going up to another. Just waiting for Facebook to click in.
What? You're looking like at the sky.
You starting the wave?
Yeah, going up to another. Okay, there we go. All right, here we are. We're at the Cool Bean Studio in New York City, Midtown. What's that? Hold on. We're going to go back again.
I'll light it out.
Oh, there you go. Okay. My technical advisor over here is hiding things like an Easter egg hunt here on my. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Ready.
Ready.
A well-oiled machine.
All
It's
right,
going.
all right. Here we go. This is Pat Walsh. Got some great guests out here today. We're in Midtown Manhattan at the Cool Bean Studio, kicking it off live with my cousin Matt. Matt, what do we got tonight?
Well, it's really great tonight because it's not just a talk, like we're actually looking at regenerative medicine and stem cell therapy and how it could make a difference in lives. And I just want to give a shout out. If you guys like this, you have to join Patrick's YouTube channel because that's where usually it is. But we've got a talk next week as well with a guy that's printing stem cells and creating cardiac tissue. I'm sorry, that's on Wednesday. Today is Monday. So tonight, who we have Bas Rutten, who is a world champion mixed martial artist and a TV personality and just all around great guy. And we have Mary, who is a stem cell tissue engineer. So we started this conversation a little while ago. Bas, can you kind of recap your experiences with stem cells, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, it's a whole story again. I had a neck problem. I dropped upside down on my head. My nerve stopped working. Been there for 5 years. Been trying in and out. Tried everything on the planet what I could find. I went to Panama to do stem cell treatment because I thought it might help. It didn't help for my problem since a nerve is still blocked somewhere and they can't figure out where it is. I think it's under my shoulder blade, but they can't find out. And so the stem cells didn't work for the problem, but it gave me a tremendous feeling. I had a really good feeling. My cholesterol dropped like 50 points over 10 days. It was the craziest thing. I felt energy coming out of my fingers and on my toes every morning and every evening, which I was told before that was going to happen. So everything was good, except, it didn't take care of the problem. And I have another problem, is bald kneecaps, zero cartilage on there. That means that, they can't attach it. They need a little bit of cartilage. Yeah, bone on bone. But once you have a little bit of cartilage, then at least the stem cells can start working and regenerating, and it can grow in that cartilage that you already have. But since they're completely bald, there's no way for them to attach it. So I kind of knew that was going to happen. Yeah. The neck I was hoping for, but the overall feeling was already great.
Wow. Interesting. Matt, are you on mute?
So we had this conversation last week. I'm off now. I'm sorry. So we had this conversation last week, and Mary was on, and it was a great connection. And Mary said that there might be some techniques that might be able to help with tissue muscle regeneration. Mary, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah. So I just went off mute, so hopefully you can hear me. Yeah. So basically, what I did is I kind of summed up our conversation from last week or the week before, and I took it to our upper management team, and I said, hey, here's this great guy who has gone through some serious injuries. He's tried multiple treatments, including stem cell therapy out of country, just to try to get some relief. And, it helped in ways that he didn't expect, but it didn't help in the primary way that he needed. So what could we possibly do to help him, or how could we maybe further his knowledge in this area so that he can kind of be guided towards something that will help him soon, short term and long term. So my advice was to actually go back to Bas and talk to him a little bit about not just his injuries, but some of the treatments, not just the stem cells, but some of the other things, like, you know, you have bald knees, so you're bone on bone. And I know that feeling because I'm bone on bone in one and almost both knees. So I wanted to kind of just get some information on not just how you got that way, but some of the things you've tried that didn't work. Because depending on what you say and what you've been through, there might be some things that our specific technology could help you. And we would definitely love to pursue that avenue if it's applicable for you.
Okay, well, yeah, I had there's not a lot they can do. They tried the Synvisc, you know, all that stuff that they make from the beaks from what is it, chickens or something. That didn't work. It worked for 50% of the people, and I was not 50 of the part of the 50%. And that's pretty much it. For me, the only thing that takes the pain away is a lot of stretching. I stretch every morning about 20 minutes. My leg, and it's only my legs. So, but after that, it's 70, 80% less. If I have to take a big flight of stairs, and I didn't stretch, I would hang over, like just lean over, stretch the hamstrings for about 1 minute or 2 minutes, and then you get up, and then it's much better. So if anybody has a knee problem, always stretching, it's a big pain reliever, and that's it. You know, in the early days, I did everything. You know, I did painkillers. Of course, that went wrong. You know, you get addicted to that stuff, so you got to come off of that stuff. And all the stuff that normal people try, you know, you try, but nothing unfortunately happened. The scoping, they went in, scoped, they tried that as well, didn't work. So we're waiting for something. Apparently there's now something that they can, because the problem is they can't pull the kneecap out. It needs to be in the tendon, so they need to treat it while it's in the tendon. So that's the knee surgery by itself. Also, I know a guy who did it. He did this latest thing, but I'm just going to wait for a year to see what he's was doing in a year. But he was literally, I think, skiing 6 days later. He didn't even walk on crutches because they don't cut in the muscle. It's just only the tendons that just open it up. So it's a very fast recovery. And what they have now is, for what I believe, is like the disc. Imagine it's a disc. They found a way to make a thread in that disc, so the half comes up, and then they have this Teflon plate, whatever it is, or maybe they do something with stem cells, and that they can screw in the existing kneecap. Because they told me that if you drill a hole in the kneecap in order to get a Teflon plate behind it, it becomes very weak, like 40% or 35% weaker than normal. And if it breaks, that's a big problem to have. So I figured, you know, I'm going to wait it out. I'll wait till my body is like past a year. And if he still feels great, then I might start looking at it.
Yeah, if it breaks, you're really screwed because you want to keep what you started with if you can. What they probably put in was a polymer blend plate. And the reason they did that was because when you have bone and more bone, and then you don't have anything there to prevent the grinding and the abrasion and the friction, polymers are really good at preventing that, or at least minimalizing. It's not as good as the real thing, but when it comes to what we can make man-made, it's pretty close. What we're looking at doing now is actually taking other tissues within the body that can behave very similar to cartilage and using those instead of polymers. Have you had any reconstructions on your knees?
No.
Ligaments?
No, everything is good. My knees are completely healthy. That's why I was thinking about where the kneecap goes against. I thought about putting a steel plate there. So because if the steel is not bone on bone, but then the doctor told me, yeah, then we going to have to cut healthy cartilage. He says, we're not doing that here in the U.S. So.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about your neck? I believe you've had, what is that, triple fusion?
Yeah, I have a 4-disc fusion, front and back.
Okay. And I believe I read about the injury that caused that. What did they find when you initially got the injury and you went in, and I'm sure they did an MRI, and they said, basically, oh crap, this isn't good. Did you have basically all disc herniations? Did you have vertebral fractures? Did you break anything, or did you just mess up the discs in between?
Messed up the discs in between. I just lost strength suddenly, and I saw my arm slowly but surely getting smaller. We thought at first that it was a shoulder injury because I had an incredible pain here in my shoulder, and I had to travel. I had to go to Boston, so I put a cortisone shot in there, and then I realized, because I had no pain, that I used my arm to lift, and I couldn't lift anything anymore. So I thought, originally everybody thought that it came from the injection, that maybe they hit a nerve or something. So they start focusing on the shoulder instead of my neck. So now over time, we're like suddenly a couple of months further away. They say, no, it's got to be the neck. But with nerves, you want to be there as fast as you can so they can start recouping. So I think it took a little bit until we were at the moment that we realized, oh, it comes from the neck. And that's why maybe it's also, I don't know. It's great. What there's another thing is this. It's brachial plexus. I always thought it was that. I truly believe so, because finally when my arms start coming back a little bit, I was doing breathing exercises, and I thought, let's breathe in. And I was yawning at the same time. It was really weird, and I heard something snap underneath my shoulder blade, and my arm was numb right away. It started buzzing, and I couldn't flip my fingers anymore. I mean, I couldn't pull the trigger from a gun. Nothing. So it was really weak again, and that was behind my shoulder blade. Then the doctor says, oh, it was your neck again. I go, yeah, but I felt something behind my shoulder blade. And I've been saying this for 5 years, but apparently I'm wrong, although I own this body. They know better. But I have the feeling like I just did cryotherapy, and I let him focus on my neck. I do it in the chamber, but I do it also locally. And now I started 2 days ago. I started also doing it underneath my shoulder blade, and I do have to say that I feel something, but I don't. It's way too early to really know. But
yeah,
maybe it's just in my mind.
So something that I will tell you. I mean, prior to joining the stem cell and the tissue regeneration avenue, my focus for about 6 years was the spine. And I have herniated discs in my neck. I only have 2 at the moment. I'd like to keep it that way, no less or no more. I mean, but one of the things that people forget is that when you herniate a disc, think of like a jelly donut. And you squeeze that jelly donut so much that all that good stuff on the inside squirts out. And it's going to have one place to go, and that's the spinal cord. And every control unit, your master command center, your body is basically here up. And when you squeeze that jelly donut and it pushes on that spinal cord, it's going to affect your ability to do this, or for your brain to send signals to your body that you want to do something. So I completely understand why you're having problems in that arm. With the fusion, though, you would think that you would get some of that back. And the fact that you haven't is quite concerning. Have you had any post-operative, since your neck surgery, have you had any post-operative MRIs to look at levels above and below the fusion?
No, I didn't do that yet, because I'm kind of afraid of that, because if that starts happening, I need another fusion. If one more fusion comes, then I have no mobility anymore. This is perfect. I can look left, right. It's all good. I can't put my chin on my chest. That's the only thing I can do that. But for the rest, I'm pretty good. So they tell me if you one more, a friend of mine has 2 more, and he's like this. He can't do anything.
Well, I call it a domino effect. It happens mostly to people in the lumbar spine. They herniate a disc. They have it fused. And then what happens is that's now a fixed joint, right? So the stuff above and below that take on more stress than they're used to. And it becomes a domino effect. These become damaged, and they're not used to taking on that kind of load. Same thing happens up here. That's why I always push for a disc replacement surgery, which is something that I will always advocate for. It's just not that common yet, because we haven't quite figured out the best way to do it. You have to create an artificial disc. You have to pull out the bad stuff, put in some good stuff, and we're still trying to figure out what that good stuff is. So that's why fusion is still the gold standard, so to speak.
Yeah, I was too late for the disc replacement. I really wanted that, and now I can't do it anymore. So, but you know, I have high hopes with the whole 3D printing and everything that's going to come. You know, maybe they can just clean my neck. I know this guy who had a girl who was 17 years old, paralyzed, not paralyzed, the whole back smashed in a car crash, and it's completely fake discs, and she can do anything. She has no pain whatsoever. It's completely like a normal person, and it's all disc replacements, the whole back.
Is that 3D printed, or do you know, like, is that?
I don't know. That's been a while ago. The 3D printing is not as long as we think it is, right? A couple of years maybe. So yeah, this was longer ago.
3D printing is, I mean, I watched some of it a little bit today, not for that purpose, but we were 3D printing a prototype for something else. It's growing very rapidly, but you know, the FDA obviously has strict guidelines on, is this acceptable? Is it biocompatible? Is this, you know, all sorts of red tape. So it's, the U.S. is treading very, very lightly on that. Hey, Bas, do you know I was just going to say, Bas, do you know when your neck fixed, do you know what kind of metal they put in there?
No, I guess titanium, right? Is what they do?
There's usually titanium, cobalt, chromium, or stainless steel. Depends on your body, and it depends on what they have readily available.
Okay, yeah. By the pictures, you can't see it, right? You need to, because it looks all the same. There's only just the metal is different then. Yeah,
it's I would get. I mean, based on when you had your surgery, that was what, about 7 years ago, 5.
Yeah, I think 2010 something. Yeah, 6 years ago, my first one.
By that, I would say that narrows it down to cobalt, chromium, or titanium. Stainless steel isn't used nearly as much as people think it is anymore. Cobalt, chromium is a lot better as far as wear resistance and toughness. So it's probably one of those two. Titanium is very good as well. So I was just curious if you knew if they used anything else other than metal, if they used any tissue from like a donor, like an allograft or anything like that.
No, they did the very first time it was a fusion, but with a piece of bone from a cadaver.
Yes.
Right.
Allograft.
That was the first one. Yeah. And what is it called?
So there are two types of grafts. You have an autograft and you have an allograft. An autograft means that it came from your body because it's automatic. It comes from your body. There's no chance of your body rejecting it. An allograft means that it came from another human, but it came from the same species. So it's an allograft. You actually have a third. It's called a xenograft. That means it came from an animal, not from a human. We are actually doing quite a bit with that as well.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So pretty much he has this metal in his body. He doesn't want to go in there because, you know, that's going to pose a lot of difficulties. Where is the stem cell? Is there, you know, like, I know he tried the stem cell stuff already, but would it be a second blast of stem cells or anything that's not as invasive as like, you know, another surgery or anything like that can help?
So I have a couple theories right now. I mean, not without being able to sit down and talk to Bas on a more private, you know, scenario. I can't say for sure, but there are a couple different things. First and foremost, he received an allograft, which tells me that when they went in to do his fusion, they removed the bad disc material from all those levels. And in place of that, because you've got space and you need time for all of that to fuse together, to help that, right, they stuck in bone or bone inserts from a cadaver. Most likely, actually, I have one. Most likely, something like, well, I don't know if you can see it, but something like this. Okay. So they take out the bad stuff and they put in a specifically machined, sterile piece of bone from a deceased donor. And what that does, first of all, it alleviates the pressure on the vertebrae above and below. Used to having a cushion there, now it doesn't. It alleviates that pressure and that stress, and it promotes the two of them to come together and fuse.
So it's like a shim.
Yes, it's like a shim. Exactly. So, but it's a pretty important shim.
I got a splint here also. See, at the top they put a splint in there.
Yeah, you're at, where are you at? You at 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, and 6, 7?
Yeah. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. And then the front here, and that's so.
So they went in through right here.
Yeah, here and then on the back as well.
Okay.
For the other fusion, so I have it the front and back. See.
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Okay, you got that cage. Okay.
This is at the front, and this is the back.
Yes, they always recommend when you use cages like that to supplement it with an allograft, which is exactly what I'm sure they did. They took that bone from cadavers and they put it in all the spaces where they had the bad discs. That's incremental because it helps you heal faster. So that's a good thing.
What about like a second blast of stem cells? Anything like that? That would or any of that stuff making forward progress, that's non-invasive, where you could just get back to him and just be like blap blap, and then he's shooting that energy out his fingers again and all. Whoa, it worked this time. That's groovy.
I wish it was that simple. I really do, because I would be using it on myself in multiple areas. But there are definitely avenues that we're pursuing as far as we know what the stem cell treatments can do. It's just with getting the treatment legalized in the U.S., which is very, very difficult in multiple areas, we have to show consistency of success, right? We have to show that it consistently helped, not hurt anything. And that avenue involves, you have to try multiple animal studies, which we've done, and several other places are doing it. MD Anderson in Texas, they're big in stem cell treatments because they treat cancer all the time. But my issue is that since the early 90s, we finally discovered this brand new source of stem cells, which nobody wants back. I don't want it. I'd love to get rid of it. So let's use it for something. We have all these donors coming in.
And not only that, it's so upsetting because you're talking about autograft cells. They're from your own body. So to do a therapy with cells from your own body that are just refined to their, natural stem cell state is not a dangerous thing. I don't see how people could feel like that's a danger, And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're exactly right. The issue is where the FDA finds an issue is that window of when we take them out from one place and we put them into another place. What is going on right there? Because if we're doing certain things to them other than maintaining them, they look at that as like a device. Okay, so it can't be just a simple. I know, trust me. This is why I said it's been a long day. It's one of those things that I don't like, but we have to follow because it's what the procedure says. I don't like laws like that dictating what we do, but it is what it is. So what can we do to minimally treat these things, but make them the best they can be right before we put them right back into that same patient? They belong to that patient. It's their property, technically. Okay. So why can't we just remove them from one spot and put them in another? Don't know. That's not. I'm not an FDA person. I'm the scientist that figures out what they can do.
Government control.
Well,
they're trying to control everything.
Yeah, BS.
Yeah, I guess it gets into lobbying. I mean, I just saw something come across today where they're talking about FDA approval, or the Senate voted for orphan drugs, but you have to be like dying to get therapies that are previously unproven, or maybe only had one test in a human. But I think that the FDA really needs to get on board with some of the therapies that can help And I know they're going to have to. We've been talking for a couple weeks now, and the concept was all of regenerative medicine. So like stem cells, how can that help people? I believe that if I were to get my own stem cells and have them injected, it could help in about 10,000 different ways that a scientist is not going to be able to quantify. That I'm going to have better blood pressure readings. I'm going to have better cholesterol readings. I'm going to have stronger arteries. Stem cells, from what I understand, go directly to an area that needs to be repaired, and they repair it. So, you know, if this is a, go ahead.
It's almost like it's just, look, Bas went to Panama to get his thing done, right? So if Panama keeps doing stem cells, they're only going to get better and better and better, and then they're going to lead. They're going to be the foremost authorities on stem cells because they're the ones that are going to end up doing it. So by the FDA stalling on all these things, we're kind of falling behind on innovation, or I just can't imagine that.
Yeah, like progress, right?
Right. So progress is being halted because the FDA wants to play the control game. So why don't we as people to say, hey, you know what? Okay, so it's a trip to Panama. So why don't we try to empower the people from Panama or Japan or whoever the forward-thinking countries are and show them that, okay, look, let's do it there. I know Organovo, is doing things with the Japanese because it's going to be a faster throughput to get some of their, innovative ideas, fast-tracked. So,
well, not only that, Pat, but and I wanted to bring it up with Mary because I said something to Bas about it that in the last conference that we had. But Organovo partnered with the University of Virginia to 3D print muscle with cells that are muscle cells, and are partnering with the Dr. Christ in. He's the director of that group at University of Virginia, and that is specifically for volumetric muscle loss. So I know that there's some conversation about, and volumetric muscle loss, from what I understand, is it comes in from many different ways. Yeah. So the question is, okay, now we're focused kind of here and why maybe an overall stem cell didn't work on the nerves. But my question is, what if there was if you brought tissue, because Bas has already gone from, 5 pounds to 30 pounds, so there is something, 20 pounds. Well, I'm going to project you 30 pounds because that'll be.
I hope so too.
That's just his arm,
that's just the bicep, only on the one side.
Other people.
No, but I mean, that's just the weight I can do. I can't do anything more than 20. So yeah, I can do it 11 times.
Yeah,
that's it. But the second set, I can maybe do 3. That's it.
So here's my thought: is that at one point you couldn't blow your nose with your hand. You couldn't do anything. So now you have had some recovery. I don't know what you call it. 10%, 12% of, once you get exponential. But
that's also there's a lot to be said about discipline and how he, he's a forward-thinking guy. Yeah, he's disciplined. Most of your people aren't going to be able to be that disciplined. So it also kind of fogs the difference between, okay, he had some stem cell blasts, and it felt great or whatever, but did that have an impact on his, muscles? There's probably more the discipline in his routine, his daily routine that had a significant impact on that. To me, I'm just like, what can he do? Like, is there something? Could he get another blast of stem cells, and is that going to help him?
So
and my shoulder. This is less. I just made a video in the cryotherapy thing of my back. They were doing it, and you can tell my shoulder also. My shoulder's much less, and my triceps came back. Thankfully, they came back, so I can hit people again. That's a good thing. But for the rest, I need this. I need this and a little bigger shoulder. That would be great.
So here's what I'm gonna tell you. This is something that I've been working on for quite some time, and I'm not the only one. But so 2 things. Part A, why I think your stem cell therapy didn't work the way you wanted it to. Okay. Part A is you had stem cells of an unknown source put into you, hopefully human. That's one of the reasons why it's a little dangerous every now and then to go outside of the country, because you never know They might say one thing, be another. And actually, I've documented cases of that where they received animal stem cells instead of human stem cells, and it turned into a very bad thing. The reason that they probably didn't help you as much as you would have needed is because prior to being injected into you, they probably needed to be doctored, so to speak, a little way. So remember I told you stem cells can become anything you want them to be, okay? And when you inject them into a certain spot, a lot of times they can go in and say, oh, you know what? This bone right here needs help. This muscle right here needs help. A lot of times they can sense that on their own. But to ensure success, you want to guide them a little bit before you put them in, which means you actually treat them in a dish, in an incubator, before you inject them into you, okay? That isn't always done.
And Mary, you're talking about maybe signaling them to be a little bit more like a nerve cell, so that when they go in, they go to the nerve cells.
Exactly. So that's what I'm getting at. So to answer everyone's Pat's question, yes, another treatment of stem cells absolutely will help him. The difference is these stem cells need to be targeted toward a specific area. So like Bas said, okay, well, I have severe muscle atrophy and I've obviously got nerve damage. Okay? He's got both. Okay, so maybe it's a combination of, we have one huge stem cell population. We take half that population and we treat it with, let me call them, I'm not going to use like doctor terms here. I'm going to call them like nerve vitamins. And then we take the other half and we treat them with muscle vitamins. We combine them, inject them in the area of focus, right? And let them do their job.
Make a few of them like personality vitamins. All right, he needs a little help there.
I need to come out a little bit. People always tell me I'm too introvert, so I have to work on that. Yeah.
I mean, but that's what I do. So for example, I'll give you an example right now. So my big thing is bone regeneration. Okay. So if people have bone disorders, or they're born with a disease, or they have like compound fractures, okay, or something like that, what I like to do is I like to take these stem cells from fat. I like fat stem cells. And I like to treat them a certain way and try to drive them toward bone healing. Not just that, but I want to make it happen faster. So if they go through like a compound fracture, instead of it taking 2 to 3 months to heal, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks. And actually one of my patents actually focuses on that. I actually laser patterned some bone. So just like the bone that went into your neck, I actually designed a pattern. So that way it's laser patterned onto the implant. You put it in there, and that surface roughness alone actually attracts more cells to the area. And the cells say to themselves, well, this isn't good. It's supposed to be smooth. And it triggers remodeling quicker than it would normally happen in the human body. I had that happen in 3 weeks instead of 2 months.
Now, question for you, Mary. We were talking, I mean, every time that Bas has said, all right, they're bald. They're bald. My kneecaps are bald on the inside. It's bone on bone. Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking. Now, I'm not messing with Bas's knees because they could knock you out. They have knocked people out. So, but just for conversation, yeah, it's fun to watch, but conversation purposes, what if the knee cap still in, I don't know, they've got really small little, tools that they could use. If they are able to rough up the inside of the kneecap, get in between the kneecap, is that impossible? I don't know, from a physiological standpoint.
No, well, okay, so it's not impossible. One of the things that I've actually investigated is actually, so I'm bone on bone as well. I feel the grind, I feel the crunch. I can't kneel on my right knee. When I go to church, I have to kneel on my left knee. When I go to pick up my son, I'm always on the left knee. It sucks. And I tried the Synvisc injections. I tried everything, and I totally understand what you're saying. One of the things that I actually looked into was what you said. Yeah, it's kind of like a roughened surface, but think about it. it's been in the body grinding every single step you take. It's already rough. My thought was to actually spray coat it. Spray coat it with something that is known to reject abrasion, like a ceramic, like any sort of sputter coated material. Anything you can get in there with like a shot and literally spray coat it on both surfaces and then let it come together. That's my thought. But again, that's a very, it's not minimally manipulated, so it can't just be an implant. It has to be at least a device, and then the FDA takes forever to get it, where you want it. So there are a lot of ideas out there. Combining something like that with stem cells, obviously the patient's stem cells. Same thing with the Synvisc, actually. Taking something like that and having half of that combined with half of the patient's stem cells. But again, you're more than minimally manipulating it. So they look at that like a massive device. So they freak out and
So it'd be interesting to see, since you didn't know exactly. I'm sure this treatment in Panama would have been, they gave him some human cells or whatever. Maybe not his own stem cells, but I wonder how that would actually. Like another treatment of having his own cells would work. One of the guys, we have a bunch of people tuning in here on Facebook, and one of the guys here, Bruce, who's a friend of mine.
Bruce Lee?
Bruce Lee is tuned in from
the grave.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee's on your shirt, isn't he, Bas?
He knows Bas.
Who do you have on your shirt, Bas?
That's Bruce Lee.
That's
yeah,
it.
What I was saying.
So Bruce is coming in. He says, NRF2 is a very interesting therapy.
What is that? Why don't you bring it up?
So I've been looking at it here. Let's see what we got here.
That sounds like a signaling therapy.
This stuff, NRF2 pathway, valuable therapeutic target.
Yeah,
Open it up.
signaling pathway.
You know anything about that, Mary?
Well, let's see here. Let me read what you got. NFE2.
You got to blow it up, buddy.
Neurogen. Sorry, I'm getting old, man. I'm approaching 40.
We're all getting old.
I want to tell you how old I am. Okay. What do you think?
Alzheimer's. Yeah, okay. Yeah, keep one, NRF2. Okay, so basically what this is, NFE2 is actually, if you want to click on one of the diagrams, can you click on that? Yep, right there, that one. Perfect. So this is my heaven right here. This is some of the stuff I do every day. These are basically signaling diagrams. It talks about how cells signal to each other. Okay, they spit out responses just like we do, and they can't converse like we do with verbiage. They have to send out signals.
Is it electrical?
Yes. So it's very similar to a feedback loop. Okay, the environment sends signals to a cell. The cell reads them. The cell responds and spits out its reaction. And then the environment does the same thing. And think about this going through all of your cells. So there's a lot of stuff going on at one time. So this is telling me right here, you've got, okay, keep one and NRF2. So these two signals come together. They work together, okay? And basically what happens, it looks like keep one is responsible for nerve degradation. And when NRF2 binds with it, it helps prevent that from happening. And then it signals into the inside of a cell, and it binds with the cell. And the cell then can spit out multiple things that can prevent degradation, okay? And those are all those things. They're HO1, GCLM, NCO1. So again, this is, there are, and I do this all the time. This is like a puzzle. It can be fun until you're wrong, and then it sucks. But
so what you're getting at is that Bruce Lee was kind of showing that type of signaling is a type of signaling that goes towards nerves. So in a way, it's what you were talking about, which is kind of preconditioning the cells to a nerve state, so that when they go in there, it's
Yes,
it's
exactly.
helping the situation.
If we
Targeted,
if we could actually precondition cells with NRF or whatever that one was, one to prevent degradation, then we might boost the situation of, well, gee, we're going to go in there and not only heal this area, but we're going to soup it up so that there really isn't as much of a chance for it to degrade again. So that's one of the things that we work on all the time. We do the same thing with bone, with BMPs, with certain proteins. We do the same thing with bone and cartilage. The problem is with nerves, it's a lot less explored up until this point. People are more familiar with bone and cartilage. We're just now getting more interested in the nerve aspect especially because of things like Alzheimer's, dementia, any sort of degenerative nerve disease, much less an injury. I mean, injury is a lot more acute, obviously, and it needs treatment immediately.
What do you think we can use if, like, your cousin is getting on your nerves?
I don't know, whiskey.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to be in the gym you're gonna have to get in that gym
Always
for a
works
long
the best.
time there, marathon boy.
So are you pointing him? What are you doing? Are you putting in him?
What's up, Jackson? So
he was going.
I know this though. Well, I don't know a whole lot, but I know that we got to, if anybody can crack the code on this muscle loss, Bas can be rebuilt. And what are we doing? Well, we gotta nix surgery, right? Because he's already had enough surgery. What about treatments? What about stimulation? What about more stem cells with his own stem cells coming from skin cells, coming from, I don't know, someone in his family or whatever, a sister or something has a baby?
Fat cells.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about that actually since I found out that I was going to be talking to Bas again. And I'm not saying that all of this is optional right now, but it should be very soon. I was kind of thinking of like a three-pronged treatment, okay, so to speak. One is very easy. I got one for myself at an orthopedic conference. It's a portable stim unit. Bas, have you used the stim unit before?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I have an H-wave is what I have.
Okay. They're not, I mean, like I said, they're not like above and beyond and like a miracle treatment, okay? But
we're talking about like a little ultrasound
pulsator
thing?
Yeah, so
electric stimulation.
Electrical stimulation. So basically you take these pads and you put it on the area of need. For me, it's always here. And you have multiple ways that you can send that electrical stimulation over a period of time. And it really helps just kind of keep your muscles flexing. And ideally what it's supposed to do is help you regenerate some strength and some tolerance to what's going on. I have one. I use it more than I would like to say. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. That combined with a guided stem cell therapy, which I hope to God we can provide sometime very soon. And third, and I know that Bas will probably say no, but third would be some sort of long-term anti-inflammatory treatment. By that I mean like not Vicodin, but that's
just
a pain.
Say no to drugs.
Yeah, just say no to drugs. But there's actually a non-addictive drug. It starts with a V, and it's actually anti-inflammatory only. It's not a pain pill. It's meant to, and it actually does work. They actually have a topical form of it as well, and it's meant to actually go in there and sense the areas of inflammation and reduce that. And I can't believe I've used it for years, and I can't believe I can't remember the name of it right now.
It's a very known name, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. And I'm trying to remember what the hell it is. It's not Vicodin, but it sounds like it. It's like, I'll think of it.
Yeah, Gene LaBelle, I think, eats them all day long, and he swears by it. And Gene is a character. He's unbelievable. He's like 84 now, and he still does wheelies on a motorcycle. The guy's unbelievable.
Yeah. Wow. Huh.
But the point is that it's unfortunately these days, because many people want a singular solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
They say, "I've got this problem. Please fix me." And my grandmother, for example, would say, "Give me a pill and make it better." Well, it's not always as simple.
Mm-hmm.
Your body is a multi-system thing, and it's very complex. So you need a complex approach to solve your problem. Boss's problem in particular, he's got muscular atrophy, he has nerve necrosis, and he has nerve degradation. He needs a combination of therapies that can go in and treat all systems, not just one. And I think that's what happened is I think the stem cells went in and they had so many things to fix in that particular area, they couldn't quite make up their mind.
Yep.
So it was like, okay, let's wage a war here. Who's going to win? And nobody won because they couldn't figure out what to do. So that's why the guided stem cell therapy is needed. And that's why I'm trying extremely hard to work on that.
Yeah, that sounds that guided stem cell stuff sounds like a winner.
Yeah, it's like a guided missile. It sounds like it's gonna.
What's cool about this whole thing here is like we got a little crowdsourcing thing going on, and we got some really cool people that are in right now. We got the head coach of Rutgers soccer tuning in, so I'm sure he's no stranger to
knee injuries
to soccer,
and shoulder,
or to muscles and fitness and stuff. We got a guy that I played, Michael Gosselin. He's online. He's also a soccer player, played for the national team. We got a couple stunt people in here. We got a good handful of people. So I'm just like, it's cool to be able to resource other people, and I would love people to maybe ask some questions, and maybe other people have heard of different instances of people, making progress with certain therapies and stuff like that. Because like I said, if anybody could be rebuilt, it's this guy right here, because he's very disciplined and also he's been able to take a very bad situation and get his tricep back. Show me that arm again, boss.
And by the way, that medicine.
Yeah. I show you a picture of what it looked like before.
Yeah,
it's funny.
See that.
That medicine is called Voltaren.
Oh, Voltaren. Yeah. That's a painkiller, also an anti-inflammatory. In Holland, they use that a lot.
But I'll tell you what, they make a topical treatment for, like, topical version, and I've used that multiple times. They make patches, they make pills, and I'm telling you, it works because its focus is anti-inflammatory.
Wow.
See, man, that was the arm.
You look like it looks like an old man's arm. Wow.
I was gonna say that. He looks like he's like 80 years old on the left.
Crazy, right?
That's unbelievable. Yeah. And where is this one on the latest?
But you see, the triceps is completely gone also there. Yeah.
Wow. So you've been able to rebuild the tricep. Why do you think the tricep has shown some progress?
I guarantee you it's because, this is my conspiracy theory. My theory is that the veins that go to the lower biceps and everything, they go underneath my shoulder blade. That's what I think. And I think the triceps maybe goes directly to the triceps. They say it goes on the armpit as well. I always felt a lump here as well. So I truly believe it's just a different nerve pathway. And that's why the triceps came back.
He is correct. So,
what about massaging the nerve? Like, what about like just getting in there and just? What about massage? Like, just get.
Yeah, it has to be. You have to think of the nerves like an electrical current. That's how they function. That's how they don't function. You cut them off, they're not going to work. To stimulate them, you have to reconnect the pathway, which means in Bos's case, he's had enough significant degeneration that it's like a short. It's like a short circuit. The signal isn't getting through enough for him to develop that function back. And when you leave that spinal cord, with your spinal cord, when you leave that spinal cord, there's so much branching, and it's so fine. The difference between his bicep and his tricep is literally a couple nerves. And it's going to make that difference. That's why he got his tricep back and why he didn't get his bicep back. It's because the nerves that help stimulate that tricep are fine. The nerves that stimulate the bicep are the ones that need help and they're just not regenerating the way they're supposed to.
I'm wondering if you did like some incremental, just, you know, exercises where you looked at your arm and tried to like just find some kind of pulsation, and just like you did with your asthma, you know, you just build that arm just little by little.
Trust me, you know, that's all that stuff I did. You know, because I know it's all in the mind. And it's also when you train your arm, you have to train both biceps simultaneously, because then it gives signals to each other and say, hey, we're working on this muscle. So hopefully that is actually going to make the connection. But I have to watch out, because if I do too much, this arm is going to go overdeveloped compared to this arm. So every time I do like 20 repetitions or the 18 and the last 7, I do only with one arm. You know, I do everything high repetitions. They've been telling me go for lower repetitions, but I like to fire them, keep them firing the whole time. I think it's a better way. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I believe that the conversation we're having is helping somebody out there, for one. And two, this just goes to the point that, you know, stem cells, I believe, are an incredible potential in many, many ways, but it's not going to fix everything, right? The body's a complex system, and I believe that, you know, Bas and I could come down and get just stem cells injected and feel great, have a lowered cholesterol, have a, you know, feel energy, but it wouldn't long-term fix the muscle regeneration. What I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to reach out to the professor at the University of Virginia, if anything, to provide some more information and just see what a different you know, expert has to say. But at the same time, it's up to Bas to whatever path he takes. But there's going to be people out there that I hope take a look at this and say, hey, you know, I read a story today about some old ladies that spent some money on stem cells for macular degeneration. They thought it would help them, and it actually blinded one of them. Like, they went to a clinic. There's clinics that are saying that they're enrolling people in studies, but then they're charging people to stay in the studies, and there's a lot of it's a little bit of the wild west. But at the same time, in a clinical environment with an appropriately conditioned group of stem cells, I believe there's all kinds of benefits that have not even been explored yet. So originally we were going to talk about stem cells and kind of all of them. We met a woman who turned urine into stem cells and helped this girl live, who was dying from thalassemia, right?
That was the Indian woman, right?
That was the Indian PhD from Cincinnati. So then the next bit of conversations, I don't know if you guys want to get onto it, but we'll continue this conversation with us, but I want to get into CRISPR-Cas9 in a little bit, which is gene editing, you know, and finally bioprinting. I think that bioprinting and really into like bioprinting tissue for like liver disease right now, Organovo, which Patrick and I are familiar with that company. They're printing liver patches that they're going to use for metabolic disorders, pediatric metabolic disorders for liver disease. These people are going to die, and they'll get like a dollar-sized patch that's going to be sewed onto their liver. So all of these things in conjunction are going to help people like us, as we grow into the future, achieve longevity in a way that hasn't been seen before.
One of the things I want to do is just get the conversation out there to put pressure on the FDA to get like smart minds and people to take, you know, self-responsibility and let us decide what we want to do with our bodies and what risks we want to take. Because obviously, you know, Bas isn't going to go out and say, yeah, hook me up with, you know, monkey, you know, whatever. You know, it's going to be like, okay, well, you want to do your research, you want to figure out who's in the know. I mean, you know, he went to Panama, right? What's stopping someone to go to Panama and do it? Well,
but what is something we can do now? Is there a treatment that we can do right now? I mean, over the next month, 2 months, is there something with stem cells that you think that would help?
So a couple things. To answer Bas's question, first and foremost, he said it in the very beginning, no one knows your body better than you. And that's something that has come back to me multiple times. To answer your current question, that's something that I need to speak to my senior management about. to know a little bbit more about what's available in the U.S., especially for someone who's been through the ringer and who's been through everything else.
Okay.
So, but that's something that I can definitely
I'll send him to Japan.
Well,
You know,
and what you have
wherever,
to
whoever, I mean, where's the best of the best happening? Like, you know, why think?
we have colleagues in Japan. We are my particular company is international. We have locations in 19 other I believe 19 other countries. So we're not specifically US. We are all over. And I know that we've done an excellent job in understanding what everyone's doing and when they're doing it. But the complexities of the laws in the U.S. have made it difficult. So I will do what I can to figure out more information for Bas, especially. But this is something I wanted to show you. I don't know if you can see it or not.
No.
Yep.
Yeah, spinal nerve function.
Do you
Want me to take what is spinal nerve? You want me to pull that up?
Yeah, you're not going to be able to read it, but I can obviously send you. The point was the complexity. So
Right,
at each level, you're controlling various things, and this is all done by an electrical signal. You cut off that signal, there's no control. Just like people that become quadriplegic or paraplegic, you have necrosis or you have complete just cut off. Yeah, there you go. It's done. There's nothing you can do to bring it back. Some nerves regenerate and some do not. And you don't just have your motor nerves, which are your function, right? You have your sensory nerves. What gives you that ability to feel, touch, hot, cold? You have all that. I mean, for example, I don't have hot and cold in my fingertips anymore. Okay, so so there's a lot of different aspects of that current, that signal that needs to be repaired. And that's what makes it very difficult. And I think one of the reasons why it's been difficult to get this side of treatment focused on here is because the U.S. is one thing. They like to be good and they like to be first, but they like to be correct. And that's one thing about the FDA. They want it to be absolutely perfect first. And nothing's ever perfect.
But you're also running out of time. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I got 5 minutes. Guys, I have only 5 more minutes because I'm running out of time. I got to jump somewhere.
Awesome.
Yeah. Can I ask one last thing, Bas? If we get to a point where you've actually have the opportunity and we could maybe connect some of your star power with lobbying, something like that, if the timing's right, maybe you could be a voice for some people and some therapies with the FDA. So if one thing I do is I connect people together, it just seems to happen. So if we get to that point, we'll see if we can make that happen if you're up for it.
Yeah, we'll see at that point. If you see my schedule, if you look at one side of my calendar, you're gonna go like, I don't know if you can do it. It's
I understand. No promises.
Like,
I just
what are you doing? But if it can help people and if it's a minimum things that I have to do, but time is.
Yeah, I'd like to see you moving forward on some some stem cell stuff, a new empowerment of those guided tour, whatever you call that, guided stem cell injection.
I do it every day. I spend my time in the lab every day, all the time. And dude, honestly, if I could just get Bas's autograph, I'll see what I can get him like over the counter, like stem cell.
You mean like a bone and autographed?
Willing to try this. Let's go right now.
Digital signograph.
Shooting it up.
It's like an M for Mary, right?
Yeah. There you go. So, Bas, there's a bunch of people online. Just why don't you tell us about your show that you're on, and they can tune in and see you guys. Everybody should support Bas. He's a great guy. Those of you who don't know his past, he's a world champion. Just just an amazing guy. I've been blessed to have had him on this podcast for the last 2 podcasts, and it's been a pleasure, man.
You're welcome. Yeah, no, just Kevin Can't Wait is the show on CBS. It starts, I think, in 3 weeks. They start filming this week, I think, but then 3 weeks it starts, and then I'm going to be, I think in the 4th episode, and then right away 3 after that. So before I have like 4 episodes I have to work on before number 8, I guess. So it's going good. So have to check it out. You're gonna like it. I'm a crazy guy. Just what you see is what you get. So this is the guy pretty much, but a little bit over the top. So try to be a little different.
And I just want to say on Wednesday night, we're going to be talking about stem cells printed with the University of Florida for cardiac tissue. So please subscribe to Patrick's YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see all the latest. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you, Bas. Thank you, Mary.
Mary,
All right,
thanks again.
thank you guys,
Bas,
all of
be
you.
well. Cuz, I'll see you on the
Thank
flip side, brother.
Godspeed.
Later.